Okay. So what I'm about to show you is not necessarily required that you do this, but I just want to show you a couple of things that you can do that you'll see a lot lately on YouTube. So we're going to create an image 16 by 9. So we're going to go 1920 by 1080 pixels. You can just press Command N. You can choose web large, or you can put that right here, 1920 by 1080. Okay, and that'll create that. I'm going to take a few images that I got. You guys would be creating these yourself, but let me just drop some of this stuff in. So I'm going to drag this over. So with an image here, when you drop it in, you notice it's like stretching, right? And so sometimes you're going to have to hold shift and sometimes you're not. But if it's stretching or squishing, don't put images in like that. People will be able to tell, okay? So I'm going to come in here like this. And I'm going to press commit or OK here. And then I want to select the subject. So I'm going to go to select subject. Okay. And that's going to give me a selection, a marquee that goes around my subject. So those are not called marching ants. It's a marquee. Some people call them marching ants. Those people are wrong. With a selection, if I hit the kind of Japanese flag down here, the rectangle with the circle cut out of it. While I have a layer selected in my layers panel, it'll apply that selection to my mask. Now this mask is going to show white and hide black. And so what I've essentially done here is I clipped this out. Now, if there's part of this that I want to bring it back, then I can come over here and I can paint white and it'll bring parts of those back, or I can switch and paint black and bring parts of those to be hidden, okay? Now I'm going to bring in kind of a background here. And so you don't necessarily have to use the background that's in the photo that you took, though you can if you want. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to have this kind of fill the frame like this, okay? In your layers panel, things that are on top will be in front of things that are on bottom or behind, right? And now I've got a little bit of an issue here where the lighting is different. So this was a much brighter situation than this. And so I'm going to do some adjustments, okay? If you can see right here, if you can see a little document with a square, that means that this is a smart object. So anything that you do to this in Photoshop will not be a destructive edit. It'll be a non-destructive edit. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to do image adjustments, and I'm just going to go with brightness contrast. Okay, and I'm going to increase my contrast a little bit here. I'm going to decrease brightness. And you can kind of just make any of these types of adjustments. When I press OK, I can turn that on or off. Visibility there. It's a smart filter, so it's applied on top of, it's not actually changing the layer. Okay? And then one thing that you can do here is we could do what we were talking about before where we put some text. So I could put a layer of text here and we could say education. And we'll spell it right. Okay. And I'm going to Command T here so I can transform it. We'll bring this up like this. Okay. Now, what's the problem with my text right now? Yeah, it's on top and it's too dark, right? And being too dark isn't a problem, but it's too dark against a dark backdrop, so we don't have enough value contrast. Okay, so I can come in here and I'm just going to change this. I like this kind of orange folder that she's got, so I'm going to grab that. Okay. And then I've got this, and I can stick this behind my subject, kind of move it around here, okay? Now, I still feel like it's a little bit warm over here. There's some maybe distracting things. On my text, I want to do a subtle effect that will help me differentiate the background, which is a little bit busy from the text. If you put text over a busy background, it becomes pretty hard to read. So down here at the bottom of your layers panel, you have an FX, okay? And these are layer styles. And so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do an outer glow, okay? Now, a lot of people will do a drop shadow. I don't think drop shadows look as good as strokes or outer glows, because strokes and outer glows go around the entire thing. Drop shadows are going to be off to one side. And so you can see all of these just by kind of going through and clicking on the word, right? You can turn them on or off by unchecking that box, okay? But if I have a stroke, it goes around the entire word like this, and I can increase or decrease the stroke, okay? Typically on text, that's going to be better to be on the outside. On the inside is going to start kind of cutting into it, and it can look kind of weird, right? And so you'll position that to the outside, okay? And then you've got blending and opacity, and so I could turn the opacity down on the stroke if you want some sort of mix or something like that, okay? But let's do an outer glow here. So I'm just going to do an outer glow, and in this case, I'm going to use the eyedropper here. And what's going on right now is I checked the box for the outer glow, but I didn't click on the word. So I'm still in the stroke layer style, which is now turned off, and so everything's grayed out. So if I jump over here and I click on that, then I can come in here. So if I single click on this color, then it brings up my color picker, and I can also use an eyedropper here. So instead of choosing a black, I'm going to grab a color here, which you'll see is actually like a dark blue, okay? And then I want that to be a little bit more subtle than it is. So I can either turn the opacity down, okay? And you can see that with or without, it still gives me a big boost, okay? Or I can adjust some of these other things. I'm gonna turn my opacity up, and I'm gonna play with kind of like spread and size, okay, and then maybe turn the opacity down, okay. And essentially what I've done is I increased the value contrast of that text against the background by darkening the background, right? And so that's just an effect that's placed on top of that text. And then from here, there's a number of things that you can do. Let's say that my branding is yellow instead of orange. Okay, well I can come in here like this, and I can go in. I can't remember exactly where this is, so let's look up color. Let's try replace color. You can kind of change things up. There we go. Adjustments, replace color. Okay, that's what we're looking to do. Okay, and in this case, it's going to say you can't do that because this is a smart object. Okay, and so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a copy of this layer, and this is going to be a destructive edit. So in this case, I'm going to do an object selection. So if I came over here like this, I can grab under my magic wand tool, the object selection tool. And as I mouse over different things, it'll try to guess what it is that I'm trying to do. So I want this, okay? And then I'm gonna come down in here, and it's selecting the whole thing. So I don't wanna use object select for that. I'm gonna go quick selection tool, which is just gonna add that down in there. So now that I have that, I can change up my mask, okay? So I'm going to, I should have deleted my mask before, so I'm gonna delete my mask now. Okay, and then with that deleted, I'm going to come in and I'm going to rasterize this layer. So I'm going to go rasterize layer. It's now no longer a smart object, and so now I can change things up. So I'm going to just do that. So it doesn't look like anything has happened, but now what I have is I have a layer that's just that folder by itself, and so now I can come in and I can change this up. I can do an image adjustment because I've just got the one thing. So I'm going to do hue saturation, and I can just sort of shift this color to a brand color. So maybe I shift it a little bit so that it matches my branding a little bit more. And this is going to be really helpful as you guys do things online. And then I can come in and I can just change up the text color again. So I'm going to grab this guy, hit T, Command A, single click. Let's match that. Okay, and so now I've kind of adjusted this to be a little bit more within my brand. And then let's just really have her stand out. She's wearing black against a really dark background. And so I'm gonna go back over here, and this is kind of a YouTube thing. And you see this sometimes on TikTok and other places. I'm just going to add a little bit of a stroke, okay? And I can kind of increase or decrease the weight of that stroke. And you'll notice that around her hair, we've got some like extra stuff, okay? And what's happening is there's probably some flyaways or some pixels that need to be cropped out and are kind of showing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a lasso tool, and I'm just going to come in and kind of just real loosely, you can press Option click if you want, and I'm just going to kind of cut in. This is a really forgiving style, and so you don't have to be really exact, but I just want it to be a little bit closer to kind of what I'm seeing here. Okay, and so then I'm just going to circle all of this like this. Okay, close that off, and I'm going to fill that with black. So I'm just going to hit delete or X delete, okay, and it'll fill that area with black. And I can also come in and just paint black or white. So with my brush tool, X here, and I can come in and just sort of like clean up that edge a little bit. Okay, and if I miss like that, I can come back with white and I can kind of paint that. So I'm just painting black or white. A lot easier to do when you're not using a trackpad. Okay, and there's some kind of basic ideas of this. And if I like the stroke or don't like the stroke, I can turn that on or off. Or if I want to double click on it, it'll bring up the controls so that I can choose a different color, you know, or do different things, and I can kind of like increase or decrease the weight of it, or change it to something else, an inner shadow, you know, outer glow or whatever else. Okay, thoughts, questions on any of that? Okay, I'll post that to YouTube in case